Story number 2. Colorado Skies.
The first time we saw it, we didn't think twice. Just another satellite, maybe a weather balloon from the airbase over the mountains. We even made a joke about it, and that was our first mistake. Because by the end of the night, we weren't afraid of the thing in the sky anymore. We were afraid of each other. My name is Sarah. My husband, Mark, and I, we bought our home in the San Luis Valley specifically for the isolation. We wanted our kids, Emily and Ben, to grow up seeing stars, not streetlights. We just wanted peace. And for 5 years, that's exactly what we had. An ocean of quiet. But the thing about true, deep quiet is that when something finally breaks it, the sound is deafening, even when it's silent. And the thing that came for us, it was perfectly silent. It was a Tuesday, late September. The air was just starting to get that cold bite of autumn coming down from the Sangre de Cristo Mountains. The sky was so clear it looked like polished black glass, with the Milky Way painted right over our roof. It was beautiful. That's the part that still haunts me. It all started with something beautiful. Ben, our 8-year-old, saw it first. He was chasing fireflies out by the porch, his little laugh echoing in the vast emptiness. "Dad, look!" he yelled. "A new star." I glanced up from the porch swing, where I was sitting with Mark. High above us, a single point of light, steady and white. It was way brighter than any star or planet. "It's moving too fast for a star, buddy," Mark said, leaning his head back. "Probably just a satellite." Emily, our 16-year-old, didn't even bother looking up from her phone. "It's probably one of those Starlink things," she muttered. But it wasn't a train of lights. It was just one solitary light, drawing a perfect line across the sky. We watched it for a minute, just this silent, shared moment of curiosity. A lot of sightings in Colorado start just like this. You see a weird light, and you try to explain it away. It's human nature. We saw a light, and we gave it a name we could live with. Satellite. Drone. We felt safe. And then, it stopped. It just stopped. Right over our property. It just hung there, motionless. Satellites don't do that. Planes don't do that. Even the military drones we saw once in a while had a little drift to them. This thing was as still as a picture on a wall. I sat up straight, my hand grabbing Mark's arm. "Mark, that's weird." The joke he was about to make died in his throat. It was weird. He got up and walked to the edge of the porch, squinting up at it. The light just seemed wrong. It didn't twinkle like a star. It had this solid, self-contained glow. "I'm gonna grab the binoculars," he said, trying to sound casual. When he got back, Emily was standing next to me, phone pointed at the sky. "I can't get a lock on it," she said, frustrated. "My camera app keeps crashing." The air felt colder. Ben had stopped chasing fireflies and was just standing there, gripping the porch railing, his eyes glued to the sky. The silence was the worst part. I'd heard people in town talk about that, how the strangest things in the valley are always silent. No hum, no engine, nothing. Just a weight, a presence in the sky that had no business being there. It felt like we were being stared at by a single, unblinking eye. For what felt like an hour, we just stood there, watching it watch us. Then, a low hum started. You couldn't hear it with your ears. You felt it, deep in your bones, a pressure building behind your eyes. Ben whimpered and buried his face in my leg. "It's too loud, Mommy." "It's not loud, sweetie. You can't even hear it," I whispered back, but I pressed my own hand to my temple. I felt it too, a dull, throbbing ache that seemed to pulse with some unseen rhythm. "Mark, I have a splitting headache," I said. "Okay, inside," Mark said, his voice sounding distant. "Everybody, inside. Now." We scrambled into the house and locked the door, as if that could do anything against something hanging 1,000 feet above us. Through the big picture window in the living room, the light was still there. A wicked-looking star that had picked our home out of the whole valley. And then it started to come down. It was slow, agonizingly slow. The single point of light started to resolve into a shape. It was dark, huge, and had no features. Just a black disk against a slightly less black sky, blotting out the stars. It was easily the size of a commercial plane, but it made no sound at all. Real panic started to set in. "I'm calling the sheriff," I said, grabbing my phone. My face went pale. "No service. Mark, I have no service." He checked his. Nothing. The landline was dead, just a flat, empty tone. We were completely cut off. That isolation we loved so much had just become a cage. "It's the object," Emily whispered, her face pressed against the window. "It's blocking everything. Some kind of electromagnetic field." "Don't be ridiculous," Mark snapped, fear making his voice sharp. "It's a solar flare or something. A technical problem." "A technical problem that happens to start the exact minute a giant, silent UFO is hovering over our house?" She shot back, her voice dripping with terror and teenage contempt. I turned on him. "Why are you doing that? Why are you pretending this is normal? Look at it!" I shrieked, pointing a shaking finger at the window. The object was closer now, its shape clearer. It wasn't a disc. It was a long, cigar-shaped craft, just like in some of the old stories you hear about around here. The hum in our heads got stronger, and a faint, pulsing light started to glow from its underside. "It's looking for something," Ben said in a tiny voice. He was on the floor, just rocking back and forth. "It's looking inside." That broke us. The threat wasn't just outside anymore. It was in the room with us, in the way we were looking at each other. Cold, sharp paranoia sank its teeth into all of us. "This is your fault," I whispered, my eyes wide, staring at him. "You and your fantasy about living in the middle of nowhere. I told you it was too remote." "My fault?" he yelled, his voice cracking. "You loved it here a week ago. You loved the quiet." Emily just started sobbing. "Stop it, you're scaring him," she screamed, pointing at Ben, who had his hands clamped over his ears. But we couldn't stop. The pressure and the fear and the absolute wrongness of it all had to go somewhere, and we turned on each other like trapped animals. A brilliant white light suddenly flooded the room, pouring through the window and casting our twisted, angry faces in stark relief. It was brighter than the sun, a sterile, examining light that erased every shadow. The hum in our heads became a piercing shriek. I dropped to my knees, covering my face. I saw Emily stumble back, shielding her eyes, and I saw this white-hot rage in Mark's eyes. He had to protect his home not from the thing in the sky, but from what it was doing to us inside. He ran to the front door. "Mark, no!" I screamed. My voice sounded 1,000,000 miles away, drowned out by the shriek in my skull. He wasn't thinking. He just acted. He threw the door open, ready to scream into the void, to challenge whatever the hell was hanging over his home. There was a flash, and then absolute silence. The hum was gone, the light was gone. When my eyes cleared, the sky was just the sky again, full of cold, indifferent stars. The object had vanished like it was never there. The power clicked back on. The little light on the Wi-Fi router blinked green. My phone buzzed with a dozen notifications that had just come through. Inside, my family was scattered like wreckage. Ben was asleep on the floor, completely drained. Emily was huddled in a corner, just staring at the wall. And Mark, he was standing in the open doorway. I looked at him. The expression on my face was one I know he'd never seen before. It wasn't love or fear or even anger. It was the look you give a complete stranger you think might be dangerous. We never spoke of it again. Not one word. But the silence it left behind is different. It's not peaceful. It's heavy. It's filled with the ghosts of everything we said to each other that night. The object left, but the real horror stayed. And it watches us every day. Not from the Colorado sky, but from across the dinner table. It watches us from inside our own family.
They have a saying about the Appalachian woods. You shouldn't go looking for ghosts, because you might find something much, much worse. After my father died, I went back to his favorite hiking trail, just wanting to feel close to him one last time. I never expected him to actually call my name from between the trees. My dad, David, was an oak of a man. He had strong hands, a laugh that could shake the floorboards, and a love for the mountains that was practically a religion. He'd been gone for almost a year, and the silence he left behind was a constant, heavy weight. On the week of the anniversary, the house just felt too small, the air too thick with memories. I had to get out. I had to go to the one place I still felt connected to him, the Laurel Creek Trail, a winding path of dirt and stone deep in the heart of the Appalachian Range. This was our spot. He taught me how to read moss on trees to find my way, how to know a bird by its song, and how to just be still and listen to the mountains breathe. Driving out there, I felt this weird mix of peace and just crushing sadness. I parked the car, grabbed my pack, and stepped under the canopy of those ancient trees. The air was cool and smelled like damp earth and old leaves. For the first hour, the hike was exactly what I needed. The rhythm of my boots on the trail, the burn in my legs on the hills, Trouse, it was cleansing. The knot of grief in my chest actually started to loosen, just a little.